kaymade-tech here. All right, so in today's video, we'll be looking at step-by-step guide, reverse shell on Linux with Msfvenom and Metasploit. Okay, what is a reverse shell? In my last video, we talked about a bind shell. So a reverse shell is a type of shell where the target system initiates a connection to the attacker system. The attacker sets up a listener on their machine, and the shell is established when the target executes the malicious payload, allowing the attacker to remotely control the target system. Tools used. What tools are we going to use? Just like in the previous video, we used the Msvenom to generate the payload, and that's the same we're going to use here. And we use Metasploit. That's the exploit we're going to use to get to listing. That's the multi-handler module. It's used to listing for incoming reverse shell and interact with it. All right, how does this work? Just like the previous one, the first thing we're going to do is to generate the payload. That the attacker is going to create a payload using the MSF Venom that initiates the reverse shell. Then what do we do next? We deploy it. The payload is transferred to and executed on the target machine. So once we transfer it, the target machine executes it. So once that is done, then when the target executes the payload, it connects back to the attacker's listener, uh, establishing a meta operator session for remote access. Key points. What are the key points? The key point here is reverse shells can bypass firewalls and NATs as they rely on outbound connections, which are often allowed. Mitigation. We have a bunch of mitigations here. Um, Talked about patch and updates, keep systems and applications updated to prevent exploitation of known vulnerabilities. Firewall rules restrict outbound connection to unknown or untrusted IP and ports. Monitor outbound traffic. Use IPS tools to detect suspicious activity. Limit privileges. Educate users. How to detect it? It's the same way. We use the net start and run the net start dash TULNP. All right. Now that I have discussed that, we'll go on to pull up our Metasploitable VM and our parrot VM. So let's start with our IP just to confirm 192.168.45. So that is that. And we'll do the same thing here. IP. So that's 192.168.57.122. So we have it. They are on different subnets, but because of our PFSense firewall, we will be able to connect. And if you are wondering how to configure firewall rules, I did make a video on that. So please check my previous video. All right. So now that we have both IP addresses, let's start off with generating the payload. So MSF P X86. So what other information do we need? So that's we're gonna go with localhost equals 92. Then local port equals let's go with the same number we used. Or let's change it. Let's do 7777. That's the output type of the file. So we'll give the file a name. Um, I always like to give names that, assuming if I give it a very common name, somebody could suspect that, okay, this is not something to talk, but we could give it a very fancy name. And I know people like dogs, cats, animals. So I will just give this cat.lf. Now press enter, generate. All right, it has generated. So let's go to file, cat. All right, so that is just if we go to ls, we should see there that's cat elf. And in our last video, we talked about loop elf, and we downloaded this from my last video. Okay, so now that we have this up and running, so the next step is to get this over to Metasploitable, sfp at 2.18.57.2. So that size is 123, the payload size, and the final size is 207. So once we do the transfer, we will verify that it's ls. As you can see, we do not have cats there. So let's put put cat.lf. All right, so as you can see, 207. Scroll back up, that's the same 207 bytes. All right, so this is complete. Let's just verify it there. Cat. In the previous, we didn't have cat.elf, but we do have it now. So we can exit this. We're done with transfer. So the next thing we need to do is to change the permissions, make it executable, give it more permissions. So we're going to go through, we're going to remote in through SSH. Okay, let me stop here. I have videos with FTP connections and SSH connections. So if you are wondering how did I do this, you could go to my previous videos to watch the FTP connections and the SSH connections. So we'll go to SSH, msfadmin, the IP address. It's going to ask for a password. Yes, so we can see the cat. So do change cat. Okay, I did something in my last video just to show you what the cat's permissions are currently. So that's it, yeah. So we can now go, let's do that again. So you can see the difference. Awesome. So we're done with this. We have downloaded the file using FTP, and we have remoted in Secure Shell to make changes to the permission. So the next step is start up, launch our MSF console. To launch our MSF console to establish a listener. So, like I said, we will use exploit multi handler. So use exploit multi. Okay. So as you can see, it gives us a default payload, but that's not the payload we want to use. So I'm going to just go ahead and set up my payload now. So set payload, because I normally forget that, so I always prefer to do it early. Uh, Key. Awesome. So what do we need to set next? Let's go to options. So we need to just set the host and that's the local host and the local port. I changed the local port. So what we have there is not what I'm going to use. So set local port. I think I did 7777. Set local host. That's our IP address 192.168.56.145. Okay, now that we have done this, so what next do we do? We're going to click on run. So once we run it here, we'll go back to our Metasploitable connection, our SSH, and we will exploitable. Okay, we'll run that cat executable. That's dot e. Then we'll go back to, all right, it's connected. So we are now connected to exploitable. So let's do pwd as home Metasploitable. So if I pull up my Metasploitable and I type in pwd, so it's the same thing. So if I do ls, it's giving me this. So let me do ls also. Yeah, so it's ls. It gives us the same thing. So as we can see here, we have things we can do. Let's do who am I? Oh, sorry, shell. Created a shell. Who am I? ID. All right, exit the shell. CD for S. So I think in the last video, I took TikiWiki CLS. Yep, TikiWiki. So as I'm going to download Samba. As you can see, we don't have Samba here, right? So we're going to type in down some. So it's downloading. So as I had said, we need to mitigate this, otherwise our data could be moving from through these shells, either the reverse shell or the bind shell. People can steal very sensitive data. It's important. The purpose of these videos is just to tell you what is possible that a hacker can do, a hacker can do, and how to prevent it. Okay, so we'll just leave this to come to an end. Then we can background this. So the essence of background is that once we've done that, we can easily start a new session within Metasploit. Then once we're done with this, we're going to verify that Samba is now in our system. Okay, so this is complete. All right, so let's go back here. So as you saw when I ran ls here, it didn't show me Samba. I'm going to run it again. All right, now we have Samba here. All right, that should end this video. All right, so if you have, we've come to the end of the video. So if you've not subscribed, please hit the subscribe button and also like this video and share it with your friends. Again, this is kaymade-tech. Thank you. Do see you in the next video.